thank you for joining me. My name is Kelsey Bobrowski, and today I'm going to take you through a warm-up and a cool-down that can be beneficial for strength training and after strength training. So what you will need is a mat and your body. If you have equipment like resistance bands, either the ones that are the long full loops or the ones with the handles, and a loop band, what I call a loop band, one of the smaller little resistance bands, you can just get a little bit more activation into this warm-up, which is beneficial for those muscles that you're going to be using for strength training. However, if you don't have those pieces of equipment, I'll take you through the movements even without it. So we want to start on our mat, and we're going to do what's called a thoracic spine stretch, or T-spine stretch. The purpose of this stretch is for your chest muscles as well as your thoracic spine, that top part of the spine right below the neck and just right here to the middle of that back. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have one knee on our mat, hands are out in front of us, and then we're going to have one leg fully extended out to the side. You want to make sure from your hip to your ankle makes a straight line, so meaning that we don't want to have our foot too far back, but we also don't want it to be too far forward in front of our bodies. Purpose of this, again, for that chest and T-spine, so we're going to thread the needle, come underneath the body, and then we're going to open up, really pulling through that chest, trying to open up in through those hips and lats and core muscles as well. And then we're going to thread it through and open it up. We're going to do this 3 times with that arm of the same side of the leg extended. And then we're going to keep this leg extended and we're going to go the opposite direction. Now this is where you're going to really feel that pull. It's taken a lot of mobility training for me to even get to that point, and that's not even where I want to be. So if you feel yourself getting to about here, and that's as much as you have, that's great for right now. You don't have to hold that position for very long. You can make it more into a swing for right now, just to get those muscles opening up. And it's really important for this movement too to follow your hand with your eyes to really try and open up the body. Another important feature is not letting your knee go in. So it's better to go here rather than in that knee and go full rotation around to keep that leg nice and extended. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Kick out that other foot, hands on the ground, and we'll get our same side first. Open up that chest, get 3 nice big rotations, threading that hand through the needle, opening up, and then we're going to go 3 big rotations on our T-spine as well, just following that hand with the eyes, keeping that leg nice and extended. Next, we're going to be doing a runner stretch. I like this stretch for hip flexors and as well as our Achilles. So we're going to have one foot on the ground, hands on the inside, not on the outside. You inhibit how low you're able to go with those hands on the outside. So hands on the inside of those feet, and then our back leg here, we're just going to extend up as straight as possible and sink into those hips as much as you can. You can kind of shift that body forward and keep that ankle and heel on the ground and get a little bit of that ankle mobility and stretch to those Achilles as well. Shift it back, shift it forward, back. You're also going to be getting a little bit in that hip flexor. Drop that knee to the ground, switch directions and switch sides, bringing that other foot into the air, back legs fully extended. Give yourself a couple of shifts forward and backward, holding each position for about 10 seconds. Next, we're going to bring it to a standing position and do a sumo squat stretch. A couple of different ways you can do this stretch. You can have your feet a little bit more narrow, knees a little wider, and use those elbows to open up. We still want to try and keep those heels on the ground. Or you can have a little bit wider stance and get a little bit more into that stretch. It's just up to you, your ankle mobility, your flexibility at this time. Now from here, same thing as that runner stretch, just kind of shift that weight back and forth. You're going to feel those adductors stretch out. You're going to feel those ankles and those Achilles just trying to work loose a little bit. We're going to hold this position for 10 seconds. Next, bringing it to a standing nice wide stance with your feet. A lot of times people will do this and be really narrow for this stretch, but you want to open up your legs as wide as you possibly can, just to try and get a little bit deeper into this Cossack squat. Now here in this Cossack squat, we're not letting that knee go in and put too much pressure on the inside of our foot. We want that heel on the ground. And again, this is many, many, many attempts for flexibility and mobility training. So if you are unable to get this low at this time, that's okay. You just keep working at it. We're gonna hold that position for about 5 seconds. We're gonna do it twice on each side, just to really open up through, again, those adductor muscles, ankle mobility here as well. And this is also gonna be an opportunity to work on opening up your chest, keeping it nice and tall. And then from here, we just go nice wide stance and let the body fall. You can grab those ankles if it is comfortable for you to really try and test that flexibility. You can sway your body side to side if you want to feel just a little bit deeper stretch in through those hamstrings. And then please make sure that you kind of walk your feet in, slip in the knees, and roll that body to standing. From here, we want to go into just some arm circles, nice and big, taking it forward, palms up. We're going to take it back into a reverse. From these arm circles, we're going to take one foot in front of our body, and we're going to bend our back leg, take a big arm circle, and sweep those fingertips. Again, to your flexibility, I would rather you get here with a flat back than here with a rounded back. So keep that back nice and flat, sit through that back hip, and just try and sweep those fingertips, stretching through those hamstrings. We're gonna be doing 5, and then we'll switch and go 5 to the other side. After we get our hamstrings and our lower body nice and warm, let's get our upper body activated and warm as well. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be in a kneeling position, but please feel free to be in a standing position for the rest of these movements. We're going to make a Y and bring it into a W. Now this isn't just a Y, W, Y, W. I'm gonna turn around, let you see the back muscles here. We are activating our lats and our scaps as we bring from the Y. Really squeeze those elbows into those ribs, making that W. We want to pretend that we are scraping the back of a wall, so our wrists are not bent in any particular direction, keeping a nice straight wrist, really bringing those elbows in. We're gonna go Y's to W's for 5 reps. After that, we're gonna do some anterior posterior rotations. So elbows are at about a 90-degree angle, making this U shape or field goal post shape. From here, wrists are nice and straight. We are going to keep those elbows elevated and rotate those hands down as far as your mobility allows. Again, we don't want wrists to be flexing or extending in any particular way, keeping a nice straight position here with those wrists. And then we're gonna go back as well. So from this angle, we go back as far as we can go. Keep those elbows and down as far as we can go without letting those wrists flex or extend. After we do 5 of those, we're gonna start activating our muscles with our resistance bands. So we're going to start with our long resistance band for our scap pulls. If you don't have a resistance band, you can use light dumbbells. You can also just use your body weight and get this motion in, really thinking about squeezing your back muscles. So if you have handles, you might notice that it's a little too tight to double it up. It's a little too loose. You can always manipulate that by just holding onto the band itself. I'm going to turn around, let you see the activation of the scaps here. So shoulders are locked in, back and down, and we're going to pull that band straight across your chest. Again, if you're using dumbbells, it's the same activation of those scap muscles. If you're using no weights at all, it's the same thing, just squeezing through those lat muscles, keeping those shoulders back and down. Then we're gonna drive it up in the air, squeeze those elbows into your ribs, kind of like those W's, just from a wider stance with those arms right here. That's where we want to feel it through those lats. After we get 5 of each of those, we can start with our small little loop band. These loop bands, you guys, are really great to activate the body. Again, if you don't have them, you can do this without the loop bands. But we're gonna be with our feet about shoulder width apart, whatever feels like a good squat stance for you. And I've learned that for my particular body and anatomy and physiology, that a slight angle of my toes allows for just a little better depth. So if you haven't played with that yet, feel free to. We don't want to be completely, duck-footed, but a little angle might be helpful. And then we're gonna go for 5 squats, opening up those hips, pulling on those bands, keeping that chest as tall as possible for 5. Then we're gonna go into a bit of a squat hold here, and we're gonna go 5 clams, doing a little bit of an abduction here, away from the body, squeezing through your glutes and through the outside of the hips, going on each side for 5. After we finish those 10 clams total, 5 on each side, we can take that resistance band off, and we are ready for our strength training program. After you complete your strength training program, let's talk about a good cool down that you can use. I like to start from the ground position. Usually there's a finisher involved, and so our heart rates are elevated. And so starting from the ground position is helpful for getting those heart rates down and getting that breathing down. We're gonna start with a 20-second hold for our figure 4 glute stretch. So crossing one foot over the opposite knee. We're gonna gently pull underneath that opposite leg and just feel that glute stretch here in the knee that is bent. Holding that for 20 seconds, we'll switch, pull behind, hold for 20 seconds. You are more than welcome to do this more than one round through. Lying crossover stretch, we're gonna be in a lying position. So one knee is on the ground. You can also put some sort of bolster underneath that knee, a foam roller, a block, a yoga block, whatever feels good for you. And for the sake of the video, I'm going to have my leg a little in front just for space purposes, but you do want to make a straight line from your hip to your ankle. From here, we are going to open up our body and try and let that body fall as much as possible without this knee leaving contact of either the ground or the bolster that is being used. We'll bring those hands back together and we will open up. We're gonna do those for a number of reps and time. We're gonna go for 20 seconds. And in that 20 seconds, you might get 2 or 3 reps in. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. Next, going into a lying quad stretch. We are going to lay on our side, grab that foot, and then just try and rest that knee back towards the other knee, just feeling that stretch through that quad, holding there for 20 seconds, and then moving to the other side. Last, we're gonna shift into child's pose, opening up our hips. You can bring those feet together for child's pose or make it into a frogger where those feet are just a little bit wider and kind of flatter to the ground. Up to you how you feel your body needs this flexibility. We're gonna drop that head in between those shoulder blades, reach those arms out forward. Hold this position for about 20 seconds, just giving yourself 5 big deep breaths in, 5 big exhales out. After we sit here, we're gonna walk our hands to one side or the other. So for the instance, I'm walking towards my left, my right hand is gonna come on top, and I'm gonna stay in through that child's pose position. And what this stretches is just through our lat muscles here. And then we're going to shift and go to the other side, stretching through the lat muscles on the opposite direction. After we finish the lat stretches through child's pose, we're going to shift into downward facing dog, allowing our body to come from this plank position to a high pike position. You can walk those feet in. If you have a little bit more flexibility, try and keep those heels flat on the ground. Shift that chest towards those knees and press those shoulders together. After downward facing dog, we want to walk our hands into our feet. Just allow for this forward fold. This is also called ragdoll. If you want to wrap your arms, sway side to side. Just give your body a time to relax and disengage and disactivate anything through the lower back and through those hamstrings. Nice and gentle, one vertebrae at a time, bring it to standing. Last but not least is the world's greatest stretch. We're gonna do a set of different movements on one side. Make sure that you do the same on the other. We're gonna start with a knee hug. Hold for your amount of time that you're able to, and or about 5 to 10 seconds. Reach that foot out, and we're back into that runner stretch from our warm up. Hand closest to the shoe. We're gonna take a big rotation. Hold for a second, bring hand back, get your balance. Make sure that this back foot isn't falling and dropping. And we're gonna go with the opposite hand. Big stretch here. And then back to the ground. Straighten that front leg. Feel those hamstrings nice and stretched out. And then gently either bring your feet together or you can walk your hands back in. Just what is comfortable for you. Then we would go through the same progression on the other side. That is your warm up and your cool down for strength training. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time.